Welcome to yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast, where today we're going over UFC 306, O'Malley versus Dvalishvili. First things first, make sure you smash that like button. Give a follow over on Twitter, over on Instagram, over on TikTok, wherever there's social media. There's a Stats and Stacks podcast. And let's address a few elephants in the room. First and foremost, I apologize for it looking so grainy. My computer just died on me as we were recording the first time, like literally RIP. That computer is no more. Had to steal my wife's. Doesn't look as good, but we are it's a UFC no che. You're not stopping us from talking about the sphere. If this computer dies, we'll find a way on our phone. It doesn't matter. We will get the content out. I'm sorry about last week with Rangju. It is what it is. Gabriel Santos has a lot dominated Rangju. Won a close round. It was a competitive round one, but he ultimately won on all the judges' scorecards. Round two was a very close round, and then he got hit with that elbow. His eye swelled up, and they stopped the fight. So it's just you can't predict a standing elbow that's going to shut someone's eyelid. It wasn't a knockout by any means. He didn't get caught and put out. He didn't get submitted. He didn't get decision. They stopped the fight because of eye swelling. You just can't predict that. It is what it is. I mean, they should have stopped it. It was bad, but it's just variabilities in this crazy thing that we do that's called gambling. So whatever. It is what it is. At the end of the day, we are just going to push through this pod this week, try to figure out what we're doing next week and just move on from there. So let's just go ahead and jump into the very, very first fight of the night. Let's see if we can share this for you. Uh, it might even just be my face this week. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, fuck it. It's just gonna be my face this week. So we have Raul Rosas Jr. at minus 850 going up against Arichi Lang at plus 575. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 plus 105. Under 1.5 at minus 135. Let's start with Arichi Lang. Or let's start with Raul Rosas Jr. This is Mexican Independence Day. It's a love letter to Mexico, even though it's in Las Vegas in the sphere, and the main event doesn't have anyone of Mexican descent. Like it's very, very peculiar how this is a love letter to the Mexican people, but it is what it is. We'll take it. So I just that being said, I don't know if there's going to be a Mexican home crowd or not. You would imagine so, but who knows? I know at the end of the day, they'll want the Mexican fighters to win in there. So let's just pretend that there is a home court advantage, and if there is, it's with Raul Rosas Jr. He's the youngest fighter ever signed to the UFC and is currently the youngest on the roster at just 19 years young. And world class jiu-jitsu, very good wrestling, and that's about it. I mean, he carries a decent amount of power. Is freakishly strong 19-year-old. He loves to pressure forward and grind in your face. But he's not a very good striker by any means. His volume's god awful, and his cardio's not great. He's slowed down. His one loss is because he slowed down in a fight and ultimately gassed out against Christian Rodriguez. So I don't know. It's kind of weird to have him at such a high favorite, knowing that he has no striking and no gas tank. But at the end of the day, it is the Sphere. It is UFC Noche, and the UFC is trying to set him up. He's someone that could be a future title challenger, a future contender, a future champion. But they have to make sure at 19 years old, they bring him up slowly. Don't give him too much at one time. And that's what they're doing here with Arichi Lang. He's just a touch over 19, 31 years old. He has a 2-inch reach advantage, which is nice for him. And he throws a ton of volume. He's the much better striker in this matchup. He has a decent striking advantage here. But he's hittable when he is on the feet. That's not a good look. And the biggest reason they're giving him Raul Rosas Jr. is because he has 58% takedown defense. It's not great. His cardio is pretty good. It checks out. He can go a hard 15 minutes. It's much better than Raul's. I mean, his jiu-jitsu is okay. He's at a grapple heavy camp and fight ready. Fight ready. He himself pressures forwards. Will be interesting to see which one gets that advantage in this matchup. I would say Rosas. I would say Arichi Lang moves forward and Rosas pressures. So I would say Rosas was probably going to put Arichi Lang on his back foot. And if not, and they collide in the middle, Rosas is shooting takedown anyway. So at the end of the day, I understand why Rosas is the favorite. Do I like him at minus 850? Fuck no. I think that's out of control. Is Arichi Lang live? Yeah, he just had this fight. A okay wrestler with world-class jiu-jitsu that can't strike at all. His name is Johnny Munoz, and he went out there and killed Johnny Munoz. Only difference is Johnny Munoz does not like to get hit. He freaks out if he gets hit, and he was no threat on the feet whatsoever. Raul will bang, man. He's not good at it, but he will give Richie Lang a little more to think about on the feet. And for that reason, I think he can blend in the wrestling a little more. It's not just a shot from the outside Johnny Munoz fight. So I think Raul Rosas is the side. I cannot bet him at minus 850. He will be the pick in regards to a bet. I'll hope that they have a Richie Lang's submission defense on par right here. So I'll go ahead and I'll bet the over at plus money. There is, I mean, I just hope that Raul Rosas Jr. shows up, not any sort of Chiwiwi, because Chiwiwi will take him out in 30 seconds. So let's hope for Raul. The pick is going to be Raul. The bet's going to be the over 1.5. Next fight of the night, we are looking at Edgar Chairez at plus 190 going up against Joshua Van at minus 230. Over 2.5 minus 205, under 2.5 plus 155. Let's start with Chairez. He's going to be the Mexican in this matchup. He's 28 years old, has a 7-inch reach advantage. Very good jiu-jitsu. Like, people sleep on how good his Brazilian jiu-jitsu truly is. The problem is that he doesn't have any wrestling to accompany that jiu-jitsu. So when you go back and you look at his record, you see a whole bunch of arm bars, you see a whole bunch of guillotines and triangles. That's all him on his back. He's not initiating the takedown. He's just getting takedown and capitalizing. His striking's not great. He's very kick heavy, but he doesn't really, and he throws a ton of power. His striking's not that good. It's not very technical. It's not a ton of volume. He just hits hard. Um, I don't know, man. You can even back him up a little bit. He's very durable when he's on the feet. I'm not scared he's going to get put out by any means, but he can get backed up, and he just doesn't do a great job at fighting long for someone that's so tall and lanky. On the other side, he's fighting someone that's very short and stocky, and Joshua Van. Joshua Van's only 22 years old, and honestly, he fights like it. He's a very good striker, has sneaky good power, but where he actually dominates is just with pressure and cardio. That's what he does. He is crazy, crazy, crazy cardio. Dude never even breathes heavy. He has crazy, crazy, crazy volume, never stops throwing. We'll do body work. We'll go to the head. Does everything very, very well. 81% takedown defense, so he does have the ability to keep it on the feet. I mean, he fought Charles Johnson. He fought Zalgas Zumagulov. Like, he's fighting guys that can wrestle. So 81% takedown defense is pretty good. His jiu-jitsu's not great. I think he's only like a blue belt, but that's because he just started doing it. So if I'm him, don't. The floor is lava. Do not go to the ground with Chairez, and I can't promise that. I don't know if he will or not, because a lot of times when people get knocked out, their next fight, they're a little more hesitant or they're a little more grapple heavy. Joshua Van just fought Charles Johnson 2 months ago. He's taking this fight on short notice, and he is taking on a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Please don't wrestle because you just got knocked out. For the love of God, don't wrestle because you got knocked out, because he will get choked out. You will get finished. I like Joshua Van. Joshua Van is the better striker in this matchup. They both have good cardio. But if this thing touches the ground, I'm petrified. Even on the feet, though, Chairez hits very, very hard. It's not good, though. His technical striking is not good by any means, but he can crack, and Joshua Van just got knocked out 2 months ago. I hate that. So there's a lot of things I don't like on the Joshua Van side right now. But I'm going to ultimately take the style and the talent. So the pick is going to be Joshua Van. I'm going to agree with Vegas, but just know that he is a slow starter. There is a chance he loses round one. Chairez will come out fired up for UFC No Check. But at the end of the day, Van always loses round one. I think he's lost round one in every fight except for the Charles Johnson fight, where he ultimately lost in round three. So I don't know. I'd rather him lose round one and win the next two. So pick is Joshua Van. The bet is Joshua Van. Next fight of the night, we have Yasmin Uruguay at minus 500 going up against Ketlin Souza at plus 380. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 310. Under 2.5 at plus 225. Let's start with the Mexican fighter and Yasmin Uruguay. She's 25 years old, very good striker, extremely high volume, very, very good cardio. Okay, jiu-jitsu, not good, not bad, but serviceable at 125. I mean, 125, you have Aaron Blanchfield, you have Rose Namajunas, and then Who else is that good on the ground? Like I don't, she's good enough. It might have that the 125-pound weight class. She's 100% takedown defense. So even with her having wishy-washy jujitsu, you have to take her down to get her there, and it ain't happening. It hasn't happened yet in the UFC. 100% takedown defense. Very boxing heavy. Very, very, very fast hands. She's an overall very, very good striker. She just has one problem. She's a little chinny. I've seen her chin checked multiple times on the regional scene and dropped. And then Denise Gomes came out and just murdered her in like 7 seconds. I know Denise Gomes hits extremely hard. I love Denise Gomes. That's my girl. And I know she's one of the hardest punchers in the division. So I'll give her a little bit of a pass, but her getting dropped multiple times on the regional scene is not a good look. If she fights someone with any semblance of power, I will be nervous. And Souza can crack. Souza can hit pretty hard. She's 29 years old. She's also a very good striker. She too throws a decent amount of volume. And again, she has a lot of knockouts on her record. Problem with Souza is that her jiu-jitsu is not great. Her wrestling's not good at all. Her cardio's good, but she's slow. Like she's just physically slow, and she's a little mental, man. I think about her fight against I think it's Christina Williams, right before she made it into the UFC. She looked like a fish out of water for the start of round one. She was getting cracked with stuff, and she just wasn't herself. Somewhere around round two, she cracked Williams, and once Williams' knee hit the ground, she just kind of perked up and started feeling herself. It started throwing spinning back kicks and marching her down. Like she's very mental in there. If you can break Ketlin Souza, uh, uh, Uruguay, her style, the way she fights, if you get prime Souza against prime Uruguay, it's a close fight, but I'm going to take Yasmin. But if Souza goes in there not confident, and again, her win, even in the UFC, she fought Karina Silva. She got taken down, felt a little like defeated, and then ultimately got her leg just snapped in half and lost a year of her career. Her next fight was against Marnik Mann, who is not good, might be the worst fighter in the weight class. Went out there, pieced her up a few times, dropped Marnik Mann, and looked good, looked confident. Like it's after she sees her opponent drop, she seems to get a little swagger to her. But I don't think Uruguay's going to give her a chance. Uruguay is the Mexican fighter here. She's the faster fighter. She's probably the better striker. And just overall, striker for striker, give me the person with more volume, just as much power, and the crowd behind her. Pick is going to be Jasmine Uruguay. The bet is going to be, sorry, Yasmin Uruguay. I hate minus 500 though. Next fight of the night, we have Manuel Torres at minus 122 going up against Ignacio Bahamondes at minus 102. Over under set at minus 120, with the over 1.5 and minus 110, the under 1.5. So almost a pick 'em all the way across the board. How does this fight play out? Well, one is Chilean and one is from Mexico. So I, although they're both Latin America, we'll go ahead and we'll start with the quote unquote Mexican fighter and Manuel Torres. He's 29 years old and he is a round one killer. He has good striking. He has okay jujitsu, but it's very opportunistic offensively, and he hits extremely hard. The dude has a crap ton of power. 88% takedown defense, so he's not easy to just take down and lay and prey on top of, and throws a ton of volume, wild volume. Why? Because he's usually finishing you in round one. The dude has like 15 fights, 17 fights. Um, let's see. Let's see how many fights he has. This is where I wish the computer was working properly. He is 15-2. And out of those 15-2 wins, he's gone to decision once. This dude's made it out of round one twice. So he's fought 17 times and he made it out of round one twice. 15 first round finishes. Like it's insane. Like this dude is an absolute killer. 14 first round finishes. Um, he has a little bit of tall man defense. I've seen him rocked multiple times on the regional scene, and in his last fight against Chris Duncan, I've seen him rocked. He's just very reckless. He thinks he's going to put you out with every single strike he throws and has total disregard for defense. If you hit him, oh well, fuck it, I'm gonna hit you harder is his defense. Doesn't always work in the UFC that way. It's been working thus far. Again, a ton of basically if he touches you, you're going out in round one, or he could submit you in round one. But the higher up he gets in the UFC, the harder that approach is going to be. This fight against Ignacio Bahamondes. Bahamondes is not a power puncher by any means, but he's 27 years old. And the biggest thing I have with Bahamondes is that he's massive. He's just like Jalen Turner. He's 6'3" in the lightweight division. And my biggest thing with him is that he's gonna have a 2.5 inch reach advantage in this matchup. Manuel Torres hits like an absolute truck and always has a reach. So he can reach you when you can't reach him. He's going to be at a reach disadvantage for the first time in his career. Bahamondes also has okay jiu-jitsu. I'd say it's pretty much a wash in the jiu-jitsu department. But in regards to technical striking, Bahamondes is the better striker. He doesn't hit as hard, not nearly as hard. He has some knockouts on his record, but ultimately you're looking at technique versus power. Jiu-jitsu's a wash. Wrestling's a wash. Neither one really wrestle. Torres, I've seen get a takedown before. He'll sprinkle it in if need be. But Bahamondes has 85% takedown defense. It's not easy to get him down to the ground. He has very good cardio where Torres does not. He throws a ton of volume, just like Torres, but he does it for 15 minutes. Torres does it for 5. My thing with Bahamondes that scares me is that he's a slow starter. We've seen him lose round ones multiple times in his career. And he's although he's never been knocked out, we've seen him chin checked in the past. So if he decides to take his slow approach, and then ultimately he could get cracked. Like if he's taking his slow starter approach and try to work into the fight, tire out Torres, that's a bad approach because Torres is probably going to put him out in round one. Otherwise, I mean, he should dominate this fight as soon as it hits a second round. So, uh, at first, I was going to say it's a nice live bet situation. Let Torres win round one and then go ahead and live bet Ignacio at a good line. But what if he just picks and paws and keeps him at bay all around one? Like, you may not get a better line, and he's minus 102 right now. He's technically the dog. So let's go dog hunting. It's not a lot of value. You're not getting a lot on it, but that's the direction I'm going. So the pick is going to be Bahamondes, and the bet is going to be Bahamondes. Next fight of the night is the most 50-50 fight on the card, and the line reflects it. Irina Aldana and Norma Dumont, straight 110s across the board, straight pick them. Over under, not so much. I didn't think this number was real until I looked at it for myself. I had over 2.5 at minus 525, under 2.5 at plus 340. That number's insane. Let's start with the Mexican fighter and Irina Aldana. She's 36 years old. She's not young. She will have an 1.5 inch reach advantage, which is nice. She does tend to have a tendency to pressure forward. Just very good striking, sneaky power. Her jiu-jitsu's gotten much better as she started training with Alexa Grasso and Diego Lopez. She has good cardio. She throws a ton of volume. But although she throws a ton, she also gets hit a ton. She's very hittable on the feet. She throws over 5 significant strikes per minute, but she gets hit with over 6. So she's a give one, she's a take one to give one type of girl. Very active guard when she's on the ground, but she does lay in prey. She goes for submissions instead of getting up. And that's not a good look for her because she's rocking like a 55% takedown defense. And I'm talking getting taken down 6 times by Nunes. I know Nunes is the GOAT, but that's a lot of control time that she had in her last fight. You're looking at multiple times, like 5 times by Holly Holm. She's a kickboxer. She should not be taking you down at ease. That's not a good look. She gets taken down all the fucking time. She's not a good wrestler. Although her jiu-jitsu's gotten much better, get up. Don't just Macy Chase on, took her down. And once she gets taken down, she plays jiu-jitsu. She plays guard. She does not get up. Even the win against Macy was an up kick from guard. She could have stood up. Instead, she's flailing her legs. Now, one of them just happened to hit Macy in the lever and get the flukiest knockout ever. And I was on Aldana that fight. I was on Irene Aldana. So I'm glad that Aldana got the win. But if they fought again, I would be taking Macy Chase on 110%. Because Macy took her down and she does not get up. On the other side, we have Big Norm. She's 33 years old. She herself has good striking, but she's a little lower volume, mainly because she's a counter striker. She's someone that does not go out there and pressure you at all. She wants to back up the entire time and crack you once you miss. Evade and crack you. And she's very good at it. She's a very good counter striker. It's just most counter strikers have low volume, and that is how Big Norm is. Her jiu-jitsu on paper is a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt, but I wouldn't say the jiu-jitsu is a wash. Big Norm's not as good on the ground as you would think she is. Um, her volume, again, not great being a counter striker. Her cardio is okay. She can slow down in fights, but it's a 3-round fight. She'll be fine. She's very position over submission when she's on the ground, like to the point where I do think she can get takedowns on Aldana. I've seen her get takedowns in the past, and her wrestling's not bad. Like she's a pretty solid wrestler, in all honesty. The problem is she's not active on top at all. He gets warned nonstop about action while on the ground. And that is not good going against a Mexican fighter at UFC Noche. The crowd's going to grow restless if she gets takedowns and just lays in price. And if she does that, they're going to stand back up, and then it's going to get real greasy on the feet as Aldana has more volume and Norm is backing up, countering. This has split written all over it to me. The only way it doesn't go to a split decision, because I don't think Aldana's submitting Big Norm. I don't think she is. Could she knock out Big Norm? Yeah, Big Norm's low key chinny. We saw her get dropped by Carol Hossa. We saw her get knocked out by Megan Anderson. We saw her get rocked by did JDR rock her last fight in round two? I've seen her rocked multiple times. So Liz Boa in her first career fight, like she's been getting rocked since day one. She just only gone out once with Megan Anderson, and that was on short notice. But I don't like this because this is at 135. Big Norm is a 145-pound fighter. She is a featherweight. They don't have featherweight in the UFC anymore. She has to make 135. That's kind of depleting her, and I think that's what's hurting her chin, because I've seen her take shots before, and I've seen her go out with shots before, and it's always at 135. I think she is that big ass, and it kills her to make 135, and when she does, her durability seems to go down. That's not good against Aldana. Aldana throws a ton, and with heat, she has to take this to the ground, Big Norm. And if she does, she's just got to play safe, and she's got to do something on the ground because they will stand her up. So again, I do think this is ultimately going to go to decision, as does Vegas with the minus 520. But I do think it's going to go to a split. I think you're going to be looking at the better strikes. I think you're going to be looking at the combination of takedowns and strikes, compared to a little more volume and a touch more power. And then how are the judges going to score that? I'm not sure. The pick is going to be Big Norm. She has more ways to win, but it's dog or pass. Right now, it's a straight pick 'em, stay away. And you can't bet the over at minus 525. So at the end of the day, the pick's going to be Big Norm. If gun to my head, I'd be betting Big Norm. But if one of them become a dog, just bet whoever the dog is. Then the next fight of the night. I cannot believe this is on a main card of the UFC. I'm going to absolutely rip this one. This is a travesty. Ronaldo Rodriguez is minus 135 or minus 140 now, going up against Ode Osborne at plus 120, over 2.5 plus 110, under 2.5 minus 140. The reason it shouldn't be on a pay per view main card is because someone's paying for Lazy Boy Rodriguez. Lazy Boy Rodriguez is the Mexican fighter in this matchup, and he's 25 years old, and he sucks. I hate Lazy Boy. I truly, for no reason at all outside of when I fight tape him, I'm so unimpressed, and people are so big on this guy. I don't know why. He is okay striking. He is okay jujitsu. That's about it. He's not a very good wrestler. We saw Dennis Bondar take him down 4 times in the last matchup. We saw Jerome Rivera get a takedown over him in Contender Series. He's very low volume. He pressures forward and doesn't swing. I've never seen anything like it. He goes forward, gets in your face, but does not let it go. He does not let his hands go. I don't understand what he's doing, but he just gets in your face talking, but he doesn't swing. It's the most annoying thing in the world. He hits decently hard, but it's not like he's some sort of murderous power puncher. And he himself is extremely hittable because he's in your face. He is in your face and not swinging at you. You could just swing on him. He just takes it. I don't know what's wrong with him. His defense is god awful. He lets you hit him in the face. I swear to God, he does not block punches outside of with his face. And he's been chin checked doing that. He hasn't gone out yet. Both his losses are by decision. One of them by split. One of them, the Rivera fight, it could have gone either way. But why are you in close fights with Jerome Rivera? Why are you losing round one to Dennis Bondar? All three judges gave the first round to Dennis Bondar. That's a terrible look. Why? Because he's marching forward and not swinging. I don't know what is wrong with him. I wish he would fix it. He sucks. And you know what? I take it back. You know the reason he does that is because he prefers to counter. He doesn't want to go first. He wants you to swing, miss, and then try to put your lights out with a counter. I take it back. That is why he's doing that. Most counter strikers aren't the aggressor in regards to the octagon control. That's what just perplexes me. He is in your face pressuring without swinging. It drives me insane. But if you swing on him, he'll counter. And that's part of the reason he's so low volume. On the other side, we have Ode Osborne, who I am also not high on at all. But things I am high on is the fact that he has an 8-inch reach advantage. That's massive. This guy spent most of his career at 135, and he's been making 125 no problem. He has decent power on him. He hits pretty hard, so Rodriguez should probably figure out striking defense. His schedule is good. He's fought good guys. He fought Manel Kape. He fought Asul Amabayev. He fought Charles Johnson. Like he's fighting top 10 guys in the weight class. Like these guys are compared to Rodriguez fighting over in Lux, which is just one of the worst regional promotions I've ever seen in my life. Osborne's jiu-jitsu's okay. I would say it's a wash with Rodriguez. Osborne will sprinkle in a takedown here and there, but he's not the world's greatest wrestler. I'd probably say it's a wash in regards to takedowns as well. My problem with Osborne are the two biggest things. Three biggest things, actually. 64% takedown defense is not a good number. Don't like people without good takedown defense. Cardio, not good. He can go a hard 8 to 9 minutes. He'll go hard. That second half of the second round and the complete third round, you will have your butt clinched. Like he slows down significantly, and he's chinny. That's not good. You can't have bad cardio and a bad chin. That is a terrible combination, especially with bad takedown defense to boot. So, no, I don't think Ode Osborne is a great fighter, but I do think he's fought great competition, and he's had a decent account of himself. He won the Charles Johnson fight. He fought Jerome Rivera just like Rodriguez did. Only difference is Ode knocked him out in like 10 seconds. So if you want to do the MMA math common opponent ordeal, Rodriguez loss, Ode Osborne win early and easy. The dude hits hard. He has that huge reach advantage, and Rodriguez blocks punches with his face. Now, Rodriguez is the Mexican here, and he has the better cardio. So, if anything, you go with whoever the dog is, and that's Osborne here. It's straight dog or pass. So the pick is going to be Ode. The bet's going to be Ode, 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 Ode. And I hate every second of it. Next fight of the night is someone that I think is world class. And I'm absolutely petrified of. We have Daniel Zellhuber at minus 240 going up against Esteban Ribovich at plus 195. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 180. Under 2.5 at plus 140. Daniel Zellhuber is a great fighter. He's 25 years young, 15-1, 8-inch reach advantage. Really, really good striking. Really, really good cardio. Really, really good volume. Sneaky good jiu-jitsu. 95% takedown defense, was training hard over at Extreme Couture with my boy Max Roshoff. He has it all. He's the complete package, and they're very, very high on this kid at Extreme Couture, saying 2 years from now is like title challenger level good. Like this kid is the real deal. He has not a flaw in his game, except for one thing: you can chin check him. Yeah, I've seen him drop multiple times. One of these days, he's going out. He is. It's a matter of when. It's not if, it's when. I don't think you're gonna sub him. I don't think you're gonna just be able to even outpoint him. It's gonna be very tough to outpoint him with 95% takedown defense and his length and him knowing how to fight long. Not everyone knows how to fight long. This dude does it masterfully. Like he's so good on the feet. I wish he hit a little harder. He has some knockouts, some decent kicks on him. He generally goes to decision. He's not the biggest power puncher. If he hit harder, he'd be a force. But again, the only problem I have with Zellhuber is that chin. Someone's gonna put him out. In his last fight, he fought a young Argentinian striker who hits extremely hard and pressures forward. He ultimately put on a masterclass, dominated, and made it look easy. That's what he's fighting in this matchup. Literally the exact same fighter, just Ribovic is 28 and Prado was 21. Everything else is the fucking same. Ribovic is an Argentinian power striker who marches forward and eats shots and takes one to give one. That's exactly Ribovic and Prado are the same thing. Zell Huber fought on UFC Noche. What is this? A pay-per-view of UFC Noche. They're literally just saying, let's run it back. Same thing. Only Esteban is a little bit better by a touch. I'll say his jiu-jitsu is better than Prado's. Is a very dangerous Kimura. Not ground game, just the Kimura. He fucking loves that Kimura. He uses it to get up. He uses it to actually submit you. Dude is a Kimura machine. But he has a 60% takedown defense. I don't like that. And he can also be chin checked. I've seen him wobbled a few times. He does not believe in striking defense. And I might say maybe he hits just a touch harder than Prado, like just by the slimmest of margins. He's fought the better level of competition, or in regards to getting wins, like getting a win over Terrence McKinney in his last fight is great. I love that. And I like Esteban. I bet Esteban multiple times. I think he's going to be a good fighter. It's just if he runs into a really, really good jiu-jitsu guy that can wrestle, or he runs into someone that can put his lights out, he's in trouble. Zellhuber's not either, honestly. But Zellhuber, Ribovic can't wrestle, and Zellhuber has that 8-inch reach advantage. He doesn't have the power to put Ribovic out, but if he can do what he does for 15 straight minutes, like he did with Prado, it's going to look easy. I'm just scared that Ribovic has 15 minutes to catch him once. It's possible. I've seen Zellhuber rock multiple times. It's Ribovic by KO or Zellhuber by decision. That's all it could be. And at the end of the day, just because I saw Zellhuber do it just a few months ago, I'm going to trust that he can do it again. The crowd's going to be behind him. It's going to be a Zellhuber day. So the pick is going to be Zellhuber. The bet's going to be Zellhuber. I am very confident that he's the better fighter. I am not confident that he wins the fight, if that makes any sense. Zellhuber's the better jiu-jitsu practitioner. He's the better wrestler, and he's the better striker. It's just you can chin check him, and Ribovic hits hard. So, but I'll trust the talent. The pick is going to be Zellhuber. The bet's going to be Zellhuber. And that takes us to what was the co-main event of the evening at UFC 303. We have Brian Ortega at plus 140 going up against Diego Lopez at minus 170. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 125. Under 2.5 minus 105. I honestly couldn't tell you who the Mexican fighter is in this matchup. Ortega has Mexican blood in him, but he was born and raised in America. And Lopez is Brazilian, has Brazilian blood in him, but is currently training and living in Mexico. So the American Mexican or the Brazilian in Mexico, I don't know which one the crowd's supporting. I think this is kind of like the Yair versus Ortega ordeal when they're in Mexico City, where they're just supporting both. But let's start with Diego Lopez. Diego Lopez is 29 years old. He's gonna have a three and a half inch reach advantage, which is nice. World-class jiu-jitsu. Best jiu-jitsu I've ever seen in my life, to be honest with you. Hits extremely hard when he's on his feet. He's not very technical on the feet, throws these weird scooping uppercuts a ton. But his striking's okay. His takedown defense is not. 46% takedown defense is atrocious. But a lot of that is because he's jumping guillotine. He does not have takedown defense. He just wants to snatch your neck or your arm. And he did fight Masvar Evloev and Joe Anderson Brito. Those guys can wrestle. So cut him a little bit of slack in regards to his takedown defense. He's just aggressive, man. Aggression personified. On the feet, swinging every single punch is to put you out. On the ground, every single second he's throwing up a submission. I don't like that he, like his protege in Aldana, he will play guard. I don't like that. It's a very active guard, just like Aldana's. They're throwing stuff up nonstop. But the other person, if you are good on the ground, you can kind of mitigate the damage and kind of go from there. And that's what and I don't like that he slows down a bit in all of his fights. He doesn't gas out by any means, but he does peak at that clock in the third round quite frequently. He's fighting Brian Ortega, who is just as good on the ground. I'll say Lopez is a touch better, but Ortega is like by the slimmest of margins worse, and good enough on the ground to stay safe. He's 33 years old, has fought the better level of competition thus far, fighting for a world title twice. He's an okay striker with decent power, just like Lopez. It kind of washes out there. His cardio is good. It's better than Lopez's. I'll give him that. Um, he has 57% takedown defense, so his takedown defense is also very bad. Offensively, wrestling not great. It's probably a wash in the wrestling department. It's a wash on the feet. It's honestly a wash on the mat. I'll give Ortega the cardio edge. So you're thinking, are you not betting the dog here? Because Ortega's 33 years old and wants to move up to lightweight. He's vehemently said, I want to be a lightweight. I can't make 145 anymore. They asked him in 303, please make featherweight one more time. We'll pay you a bunch of money. And then you never have to make featherweight again. Ortega agreed and killed himself. Getting down to 145, called Diego Lopez's camp day before the fight, night before the fight at like midnight. It was like, I ain't making it. We have to put this at 155. Diego Lopez weighs in at 155, as does Ortega, is instantly gets very, very sick, unable to compete, and calls off day of the fight because he's too sick to compete, making 155. This fight is at 145 again. I don't like Ortega being 33 years old coming down to 145. I'm not saying he's shot by any means, but you start to see it drop. He's been in wars, man. The Yair Rodriguez fight, his shoulder popped out. The rematch, he got chin checked badly. He got hurt to the ribs badly before he ultimately got the finish. One of these times he's going out. He's not going to be able to battle back. And then I start thinking about his early career and how many comeback wins he had. Comeback wins against the likes of Clay Guida. Comeback wins against was it Cub Swanson he had to come back against. He is a perpetually slow starter. He also lost the first round to Yair in both matchups. He loses the first round in almost every single one of his fights. This is only a 3-round fight. You can't give the first round away like Chito Vera and Peter Yan style. In 3-round fights, we just saw Marlon Vera lose to Davison Figueroa. Why? Because we knew he was going to give away round one. What did he do? He gave away round one. All these comeback wins Ortega has on his career, he can't just slap on a guillotine. He can't just slap on a triangle against Diego Lopez. It's not going to work against him. Thiago Tavares, he had to come back. Diego Brando, he had to come back. Renato Moicano, he had to come back. Like all of these fights, he was losing. It's not going to work over and over and over again. And I don't think it's going to work against Diego Lopez. So the pick is going to be Diego Lopez. The bet's going to be Diego Lopez. And we're just going to trust the talent at this point. Then that takes us to the co-main event of the evening and our first title fight of the night. We have Alexa Grasso at minus 135 going up against Valentina Shevchenko at plus 115. Over under set at 4.5. Over 4.5 minus 200. Under 4.5 at plus 155. Let's start with the Mexican and Alexa Grasso. She's 31 years old in her prime. She has good striking. She has good jiu-jitsu now, thanks to Diego Lopez. Still rocking 59% takedown defense. Not great. Her cardio is good, but she's a pretty bad wrestler. Good level of competition. She's very quick. Definitely has the faster hands in this matchup, but she's much smaller. She spent most of her career at 115. Decided I can't do 115 anymore. I'm going up to 125, and ultimately won the belt. I don't think she's lost as a flyweight as I'm thinking about it. Very, very good everywhere aside of her wrestling. And I think part of the problem she has is that she's so small. She was a 115-pound fighter for quite some time. Decided she can't do it. I'm going to use my speed now up at 125, and it's worked wonders. She's going to work on her jiu-jitsu instead of her wrestling. It's worked wonders. But it's not going to work against everyone. It's worked against Shevchenko to an extent, but has it really? Shevchenko's 36 years old, which is a scary, scary, scary number, especially in title fights. She has good striking. She has okay jiu-jitsu. I'd say the jiu-jitsu is a wash. She has good cardio. She has okay wrestling. I will say she's a better wrestler. It's just she's getting pretty slow in age. She's 36 years old, and every time we see her fight, she's getting slower and slower. Tyla Santos is giving her problems. Alexa Grasso is giving her problems. It's just getting tougher and tougher for her the older she gets. She's fought a great level of competition, but in all of that, has never been a huge like volume girl. Pretty a little lower volume than I had anticipated, but she hit so hard and was so clean and technical it didn't matter. But now that she's 36 and getting slow, Grasso, although Shevchenko's the better striker, I would say Grasso hits her more and hits her harder. Grasso is winning the stand-up exchanges in both fights. And what Valentina does is she has great game plans and she has a great ability to pivot. The first fight, she came in expecting to strike, wasn't working, so she instantly became a wrestler, put her singlet on, and dominated. Was winning until the fourth round, and she got caught. She did a spinning back kick. Grasso jumped on her back and ultimately got a rear naked choke. I'm not saying it was fluky by any means, but the odds of it happening are extremely low. So they had a rematch, immediate rematch. And what happened? Shevchenko went out there and she got rocked. she got hurt, decided to put on her singlet and outmuscled Grasso and won the fight. But one of the judges decided to give Grasso a 10-8 in the round five. And in round five, giving that 10-8, it made it a draw. So they have to run it back for a third time. I'm telling you right now, Grasso was winning the first fight and got caught. She won the second fight and got robbed of a decision and they gave a draw. And now it's the third fight. And everyone's gonna be on what I thought was gonna be Shevchenko. And they're all on Grasso. I understand that. I'm on Grasso. I think Grasso wins the fight. But at the end of the day, these ladies have fought 9 rounds, and Shevchenko has won 7 of them. And she's the plus money. I'm going to pick Grasso. I think Grasso wins the fight. But as long as Shevchenko, 36 in all, has a plus sign next to her name, that's probably the way I'm forced to bet. The pick is going to be Grasso, but the bet would be Shevchenko. She's won more of the rounds. All she has to do is finish the job for once. I don't think she does, but I think she has a good chance of doing it, and I think it should be a pick 'em at worst. So the pick is going to be Shevchenko or Grasso. The bet Shevchenko. That takes us to the main event of the evening. If you haven't already, again, thank you for sticking with me through all the technical difficulties. I promise we'll get this situated. And there's a break week next week, so there's no excuses. I get an extra week to figure it out. We have the champion, Sean O'Malley, minus 130, going up against Merab Dvalishvili at plus 110. Over under set at 4.5, over 4.5 minus 125, under 4.5 minus 105. And I have another one of these picks versus bet ordeals going on. We'll start with the Mexican. There isn't one, but Merab took over against Henry Cejudo, so I guess he's the most Mexican in this matchup. Then we'll start with Merab. Merab's 33 years old. He's finally getting a shot at the title. Thing about Merab, the greatest cardio ever seen in a human body. Like this dude is cardio personified. He is okay striking. It's not great. He has pretty good wrestling, but it's not world class. He has okay jujitsu, but it's not great. He has pretty decent volume. So you're thinking, why is this guy getting a title shot? Cardio. Like he breaks you. But he does not stop. His nickname of the machine is the most appropriate nickname in all of MMA. The dude's not human. The dude is taking videos swimming for like over a minute. He's taking videos going on jogs and just putting up numbers that you've never seen before. Like there's something, this guy is not real. I don't understand that. He's a literal machine. The only chink in his armor and where the battery kind of shorts out at times is his chin. And we've seen him get chin checked with the left hook twice. We've seen it in the Marlon Moraes fight. We saw it in the Henry Cejudo fight. I saw it in a fight before that on the regional scene. I've seen this dude rocked at least 3 times, but I think more. You can hurt Merab. Like he's a machine, but at the end of the day, his makeup is human, and you can crack him. Any man get knocked out at any point, and he just seems a little more wobbly than others. He has great recoverability. You can crack him, he'll wobble, and then he'll get back up, and he's fine. But one of these days, he's going fully out, and I feel like the older he gets, the less that recoverability is going to be. It's going to get harder and harder to just pop back up after getting cracked. He's 33 right now, so he's right on that edge. They say 35 is when he starts to decline. So if he's going to do the damn thing, he's got to do it now. On the other side, we have 29-year-old Sugar Show. Sugar Sean O'Malley has a 4-inch reach advantage, world-class striking. high volume, sneaky good jujitsu that no one talks about. Like O'Malley might be the better jujitsu practitioner in this matchup. If not, it's a wash at best. His cardio's okay. I used to think he had bad cardio, but he showed in the Marlon fight he can go 5 rounds. He slowed down in round 5, but he also threw like 220 significant strikes. So I think anyone would slow down in round 5. He can't really wrestle. He carries a ton of power, but 62% defense is what scares me. And you're gonna say, well, that's just because that's just because he wasn't ready for Peter Yan, is what I've heard people say. Like Peter Yan doesn't usually wrestle in his fights, he wasn't ready. What about Andrei Sergachev? Because he took him down 4 times. That's not a good look. What about dusted Thomas Almeida? Because he took him down too. And Thomas Almeida was like an over the hill Brazilian striker. Why is he taking you down? If Thomas Almeida can take you down 2 years ago, Merab Dvalishvili can take you down at ease. That's a concern. Now, when I look at Sean's Instagram, when I look at all the videos he's posting, he's doing all the right things. He's showing great combinations. He's showing a ton of left hooks. He's showing a ton of knees. He's showing a lot of front kicks up the middle, everything to keep Merab at bay. And again, a 4-inch reach advantage. And if he's kicking like that, much further, he's going to keep him even further away at bay with the kicks. Like this dude is doing all the right stuff. This dude is definitely one that can put Merab out for good. And I think he's going to catch him. He has 25 minutes to catch Merab. I think he probably catches him in the first 10. If he doesn't, Merab's going to kill him. Merab's going to take over, and he's going to ultimately probably make him quit. The Sugar Show, when he got tired in the Peter Yan fight, he got tired in the Cheeto Vera fight. Merab, I don't think can physically get tired. Now, I do see that people are saying Merab might low-key have staph. He could get opened up with the stitches after the eye injury he had in training. There's a lot of negatives with Merab. Honestly, I came in confident with Merab, watching O'Malley doing the right things, uppercuts, front kicks, knees, down everything down the middle, everything down the pipe, and then left hooks. Like he's training all the stuff to put Merab out. And Merab having all these physical possibility disadvantages made me flip over to Sugar, and I will pick Sugar to win the fight. However, just like the last fight, if you're giving me plus money on the person that should win, if they fought 10 times, if Shevchenko and Grasso fought 10 times, I think Shevchenko right now would win about 6 of them. And she's the dog. If Merab and Sean O'Malley fought 10 times, I think Merab would win 6 to 7 times. 6. I'd say he wins 6 of them. And right now he's the dog. So you got to bet that way. So I'll pick Sugar O'Malley. But the bet's going to end up being the machine, Merab Dvalishvili, and new. And that's UFC 306, a small card, 10 fights. It is what it is. It's a pay-per-view. It's going to be fun. It's going to be an experience. Where were you when the first sporting event happened at the Sphere? You'll remember this forever. And let's hope it lives up to the hype. Let's get it.